Oh, good evening. It is the forum. It is the LFC Daytrippers. Andy and Phil trying to lighten the mood. It's the 4th of January. If you thought it was grim today, first day going back to work for many of us, then it just got a whole lot grimmer in the last couple of hours. Tonight, we're going to discuss what we've just seen unfold. We have got Phil Katie. How are you, Phil?
I'm feeling great, Ray. Feeling great despite most of the rest of the day. I am, yeah. I'm feeling refreshed. I'm in my athleisure gear, which I can only recommend. Gym Plus Coffee, if you're out there, get on that stuff. Irish athleisure gear. All the best.
Very good. And Andy Young, how are you doing, Andy?
Not great.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll stay optimistic through thick and thin, but it is hard after all of that. And Neilo, how you doing, Neilo?
All right, man. Yeah, sound. Having a few hardware issues here, but however.
That's unusual for you, Neilo, but I'm sure you'll power through as usual.
I don't really give a shit, Dicko, you know?
As long as he can hear you, Neilo, that's the main thing.
All that matters, man. All that matters. Whatever. Face for radio.
We're going to try and raise some spirits anyway. I've already seen a call by Free World to null and void it. I'd say you probably endorse that, Phil, or would you get enjoyment around us falling apart at the seams?
No, I don't take any joy. I actually, honest to God, lads, I think over the last 6 weeks I've just drifted away from football. I've no interest in it, right? So tonight was interesting to go back and see, do I enjoy watching those matches? And I don't. I think it was on I can't remember. I think it was on Grizz's show. And I prefer watching those games when I know the result, so I don't get upset or annoyed. And tonight I wasn't even annoyed. I was completely apathetic to what was going on. It was just like I knew after about 2 minutes we weren't going to score at all tonight, right? And it didn't look like we were going to score. I think we've had this issue going back now since to last March when the season resumed. When was it? When did the season resume? Was it May? So when the season broke in February in the initial COVID sort of outbreak that was there, we've never regained that electric form that we got across the line. But our away form is absolutely poison. And I was starting to talk to Andy before this as well. Like, there's no reason for our away form to be poison because there's no fans in the stadiums. You're turning up at one empty stadium is the same as another empty stadium. Like, it makes no difference whether you're home or away. But we are fucking delusional if we think we're winning any leagues with the state of the away form we have at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the comments are interesting because there's shouts from all over the place. Obviously, put the season on hold from Jono, and some of this is probably tongue in cheek. I've seen a comment here. I want to see Origi in the team and a different change of attack. I mean, we're clutching at straws here. Other people mentioning the away form and look at how bad it is. This isn't just a one-off kind of thing, and I think just what you're saying there, Phil. I think if we carried on playing till the end of this show, we'd still go back and see that the score has got Liverpool 0 next to it because it just didn't seem to be happening tonight. But look, we'll start at the start. We'll go back to the team as we tend to do with these things. And Andy, I suppose we were wondering what would happen at centre back, and there was discussions last night on the fat back four. There was back and forth about whether maybe Henderson or Genie should slot into centre-back. There seemed to be a lack of confidence around either putting Nat Phillips in there or Reece Williams based on some recent shows. And obviously he plumps for Henderson. And then obviously you've got Thiago starting in the midfield. You've got Ox starting as well, which I guess was really giving him which was giving him an opportunity to shine, which clearly he didn't take that opportunity. But overall, in terms of the team, what was your assessment of, I guess, the centre back pairing, and then what he decides to do in midfield?
Yeah, I wasn't really taking in much of the talk about who'll play centre back. I just assumed Reece Williams was doing a decent enough job to continue on playing there. worrying enough when you see Henderson. I mean, look, I was never a big advocate for Fabinho going to centre back because I think what you lose in midfield is massive. But he's proven his worth at centre back. He's one of the best centre backs in the whole league there. But when you take Henderson out of midfield as well, you may as well be missing him out of the whole team. It's a midfield that haven't played together. It's Fabinho coming back from injury. It's Ox coming back from injury. Only Wijnaldum had a decent game. It was just a shit show. Not a shit show. You can't blame these players coming back from injury. I wouldn't like to give out about Thiago. He was good in patches, but just as a unit, not going to happen. It was a big concern, way bigger concern than the prospect of having Reece Williams continuing on a centre back with Fabinho. Way bigger. But look, we've just too many players and too many important roles and areas not playing well.
Yeah. And just on Thiago, Neilo, we seen Thiago the last 15-20 minutes against Newcastle, got a lot of people excited, but tonight got off to a really shaky start. He concedes the foul. It was a bit, in my mind, it was a bit of a cheap one. That leads up to it's the free kick that leads to the goal, and then just after that he shows his frustration. He picks up a yellow card straight away. He got off to a bit of a nightmare start, didn't he? And he always seemed to be a little bit on the back foot after that.
I mean, I think he got caught up in the general malaise that was happening throughout the team, really. Like, it's very difficult to expect him just to come in and be the player that we know he can be immediately in a different country, different setup, hasn't played with the players, virtually hasn't trained with them either, hasn't integrated into the group. So to expect just this explosion from him and to take over and to run the game himself it's wishing upon wishes, isn't it? It was never going to happen in reality, and you tend to get drawn down to the level of those around you too. It's very hard to rise above it. So I think the malaise that's around the place it's endemic, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a pandemic.
It's a pandemic. Yeah. So we get off to the sort of worst possible start, really. We give Southampton something to defend for the next 88 minutes. It's a cheap goal. It's a cheap free kick. It's really lax defending from Trent, who wasn't switched on, didn't really seem to be switched on the whole game, to be honest with you. And in fairness to Danny Ings, he doesn't even take a look at the goal. It's an instinctive lob over Alisson, and it's 1-0. Phil, have you got to give credit to Danny Ings in that situation, or have you got to call out Trent for being a bit brain dead?
I thought Trent was absolutely cabbage on that one. Like, if he throws his head at the ball, it goes out for a throw, and it doesn't happen. He tries to be too cute and take it on the chest so that he can run it and retain possession. Now, that's stuff that was coming normally for him when things were going well, but he has been struggling a wee bit on form over the last little few games in terms of what was there
since he come back from injury, basically.
Yeah, he's struggled to get back in form. But like, right, I have a whole thing. I just have a general thing, right? This season's a bit mad with between muscle injuries because of the run of games, but also players picking up coronavirus and the impact that's having on their ability, right? Because it's not just Trent. Mane's looked shockingly poor since he got coronavirus that time, and hasn't been at the races since then. We're talking about Jota. He needs to be back in and stuff. But anyone who's picked up that virus hasn't come back to and played at the same level as they had before. I think there's a definite lag in terms of their either aerobic or decision-making abilities or stuff. We don't know what the real impact the virus has, how long it takes to get out of their system. And it could easily have an impact on how to run. I just think very lax. I looked at Oxlade. Oxlade have COVID at some point as well. He's appalling. I never wanted us to sign him in the first place. And the performances he's turning in are way behind what it was when we were saying to him, oh, look, he's going to turn out all right. He's definitely found something. He's found a way to play through midfield. But like, we're all giving Trent the dog's bollocks, but like, Ox was terrible, man. Ox and Trent on that side was just, it was septic.
2 years since he played football, to be fair, isn't it?
I know, but Andy,
why the loyalty? Why do you think Klopp Why do you think Klopp gives him that opportunity in such a big? It's an important context of our season. That was a massive game tonight. Why do you think he gives him the chance, Phil?
I've no idea, man. I've absolutely no idea. Like the real issue is, could you have had played? Who are we going to play instead? It's going to be Curtis Jones, right?
No, well, probably fucking Minamino. I don't know what he's done wrong. He was good against Palace.
The Minamino thing I can't figure out either. The last time we played, we scored 7 goals that day. Right, it looked like the fella had figured out how to play in England, and he hasn't been seen since. Right, I didn't mind the Shaqiri sub. I thought it was the right one to make, but like Ox,
he was good. He was good.
Yeah, Ox has done nothing in a Liverpool jersey in the times he's come back from injuries within the 2 years where he's been basically out injured, and he offered nothing in our title run last year. In fact, since Oxlade's been out injured, we looked a better side. Now, I think it's also, there's multipliers going on here. It's not just one problem that if you fix that problem, it gets sorted, right?
Yeah.
It all comes back to the midfield. Like we're saying, well, if you don't play Ox, who do you play? Play Henderson there. I know Andy has his concerns about Williams or Phillips playing at centre back, but those lads are paid to be centre backs. They're paid to be centre backs, and if you can't play them in this match, and you're happy to play them against Ajax, and you're happy to play them in other games that was there, if you're not happy to play them in this match, then you should have signed a centre back on Sunday when the transfer window opened. There's no excuses for it, right? Because if that's your key issue at the moment, that you can't free up to play your centre midfielders in the centre mid position and rotate when we go through this heavy run of games, then it's on management and it's on Edwards. And it's been a long time since we've had something that we need to take. Look, they need to do better here. We need something that gets in. The other thing I'll say is, like, Klopp isn't immune from criticism, and this to me is going to be really interesting, because this is the first time in his tenure that his slope is downwards over a number of games. It's only been upwards. It's only been one way since he came in, and that's that team's been gradually getting better back to the crescendo of winning the league. This is the first time the trend can either be flat or downwards. It can't be any higher, because you're not going to replicate what you did last year, and we know they're not going to replicate what you did last year.
Is the honeymoon over after 4.5 years, Andy? Is the honeymoon over for Klopp?
No, of course not. Like, it's a huge challenge in itself, going into a third season on the back of 2 95-point plus seasons. I mean, that's an incredible haul over 2 seasons. It's not sustainable. Players need a special kind of motivation and probably a freshening up and a few change of ideas. It's not easy. You know, it's Klopp needs to react, but I wouldn't. What was that? I wouldn't be getting too concerned at the moment. I think he's obviously the right manager, the best manager around, to try and turn these things, turn it around. But then couple that with just all the injuries, the type of weird season it is. Everybody's pretty shy. So look, I wouldn't go as far as to say the honeymoon's over. It's just a bit of a broken romance at the moment, because it's hard to be in love with the game as a fan sitting in your sofa with empty stadiums. I can't imagine how that feels for Klopp, who's so connected with that emotion that the fans give you.
Yeah. I mean, Neilo, Master of Disaster, says that Klopp, he started to make some questionable decisions recently. We've seen him sort of unravel a little bit in front of the cameras and get himself drawn into, you know, debates with Des Kelly and whatnot around substitutions and, you know, all this sort of malarkey, which has kind of died down the last few weeks. But do you think that, you know, all of this disruption inside in terms of his own squad and then externally is starting to unsettle some of his normal kind of rhythm as a manager?
No, I really don't think so. I mean, I think it's a massive knee-jerk reaction to kind of question Klopp at all. Jesus Christ, look at what he's done in the very, very recent past. I mean, just because Liverpool are champions doesn't mean they're going to win the league every season for the next 25 years now. It's like, do you know what I mean? They're still thereabouts. They're still more or less the same players. The squad might need freshening up a little bit, but there's no point in shitting the bed now just because we've lost a couple of games and our performance levels have dropped. Like, it's still the same squad that won the fucking league. So, like, why is everybody fucking panicking? You know what I mean? And but if it's a bit silly in my opinion. And if you're to listen to the narrative in the media that Liverpool are kind of they're complacent even. I don't think it's even complacently. It's just a little bit of a malaise, and that'll go. It comes and goes. It's a weird season. But Liverpool will still win the league this year, so everybody just chill the fuck out.
I threw that comment up from David Parkinson. I mean, it makes me laugh because, like when we started this podcast, you know, that was 13-40s. That was a good season. But after that, we had to go through an awful lot of shit. And we had to laugh the whole way through. And we've seen them get better and better and better. And they peaked. And all during that time, people like David Parkinson and the rest of the Manx had to suffer it. And they've got a little glimmer of hope this year because it's a stupid season. They've had no fucking injuries, and they've got their ex-players who were like experiencing massive glory throughout the years, winning leagues, competing in Europe, even though for a team that was so elite, they don't fuck all in Europe. But anyway, they're up on Twitter now with smiley faces and thinking that this is the dog's bollocks being second in the league. Well, have a look at your own club and anyone else who's taking pleasure of it, because it's going to be even sweeter for us if United cling on towards the end of the season. Liverpool just get back to normal ways.
Hold on, who's David Parkinson?
I'm just assuming David Parkinson.
I think.
So some Manchester United supporters gone out of his way to go on to Liverpool. Just come here.
I think this is what you've got to expect. This sort of thing. This is just a phenomenon on podcast that other teams will come weighing in and will take a lot of pleasure in knocking the champions off the perch. I think we're actually seeing it on the pitch. I mean, Phil, the last 3 games, we've seemed to have come across 3 defenses which have just defended for their lives. You took this as like they're in a Champions League final or something. And then, I know the Southampton manager goes through a lot over the last week or 2 on a personal level, I'm sure. But he's on his knees crying his eyes out at the end of the game. Like, this is the level that teams seem to be raising the game to now, doesn't it? Just to keep Liverpool out.
No, right. He's saying you're not a Scouser.
Isn't now?
I had a dog called Scouser.
He's a Brooksider.
We'll put your comments up all night. No problem. No problem. You're on fucking watching a Liverpool podcast yourself.
Right. I was just thinking, and I go back to it. This isn't just a one-off or a 2-off or just a little run of form of 3 games. This is a method that teams are now using successfully against us, and it was first used by Atletico Madrid back in that Champions League game. And teams have been looking at the breakdown and how it stopped Liverpool from playing and how it stopped them from creating chances and how it stopped. Now, in some games, it clicks for us and we play really well. But the more more of our playmakers we take out from the playmaking positions, i.e. the midfield, and have to play them at centre-back or move them around the pitch, the less of the playmakers we have and the greater spread we get across the pitch itself. That was the most spread I've seen the team across those 3 matches. They aren't compact anymore. So they can't do quick counter-attacking football.
Thiago was brought in though to kind of give us another option because to kind of negate the Atletico Madrid tactic if you want for a moment.
When he was flying in that Everton match, because this is only his 3rd game, so when he was flying in that Everton match that he came in and played for us after he signed, right, we were a very compact unit. So when we got the ball, he was always in and around where the action was going on. So be it a centre back nicking the ball and being able to feed him where he can field somebody quickly, a runner from midfield or one to 3 centre forwards or whatever it is. But when the pitch is so spread, all he's doing is playing the ball left and playing the ball right and picking the ball up off the centre backs and playing it left and playing it right. He doesn't have he's not as compact, he's not as tight to the top 3 where he can play those through balls that frees up a run through by Mane or frees up a run through by Salah to get in behind him. And I think there was one chance at all tonight, and that was when Mane got in behind them and hammered it with no power at your man Fraser Foster, which I think was our only shot on target as well for the whole game, which is pretty impressive when you think about it. I know that there is loads and loads of other talking points. There's the refereeing decisions, and I completely believe now at this point that us being part of the project big picture thing has led, they must have decided to get rid of the PGMOL or something like that, has led to an instance where the referees have decided not to treat us with the same levels they're using against other teams, right? And I'm not saying it's even United, I'm just saying in general. Like the handball is being given in every single game. That one where the defender turns and raises his hand like that, that's a handball in every single match this season. Yeah. Mane gets clipped
I'm not having that. There's no bias against Liverpool. Go away with that.
No, Neil,
I think it's creeping in.
Yeah, I think it's there.
Andre, I don't know. I mean, Andre Manning himself is a pretty. If you watch him across any game, not just the Liverpool game, any game, he's pretty woeful. Like and he's got this arrogance that that is associated with the worst of the worst referees. Like he doesn't, he thinks he's the centre of attention. So I don't think it's necessarily a Liverpool thing with Andre Manning. He's just absolutely awful. But I think there is something in some of these, the bar for us is much higher when it comes, the threshold for getting a penalty does seem to be much higher for Liverpool. And you have absolutely no belief or confidence that when it goes to VAR, that there's going to be anything other than just sticking with the original decision.
Yeah, whereas if it's against us, they give penalties away for lads who are standing on the edge of the box and they're just the contact is slightly outside the box. I don't think I think there's a subconscious thing going on in this, and now they're saying that if they start giving us penalties or something like that, they're going to be held accountable for just trying to balance up the equation, that they haven't given us loads, so now they're just trying to balance it up, but they have given us loads. I just think again, but the real
unconscious bias.
Yeah, but you look at it, the real chances that we missed. Like there's one where Fraser Foster gets a free out for hitting his own player and dropping the ball. Now, the worst part is, and I'll get onto it. Like my biggest problem with this team at the moment is Firmino, and it has been Firmino for months. He's just not good enough. Like we can, you'll hear all this stuff that he's the system and he's the system. Well, the system is fucked at the moment, and if the system is fucked, it's because the fella that's playing as your central forward can't score goals, doesn't look dangerous, and nobody bothers to mark him. It's sad, but he peaked 2 years ago. We need to move on from Firmino now, and there's always that concern when you have a manager and you have a team that's done so well for 3 or 4 years, when you start to recycle out your top three. And I think Jota was that recycling. That he was the fella that was coming in. You could see how they suddenly started benching Firmino and Jota, Mane and Salah, and it changed the way we were playing as a front three. Once Firmino's in there, they just, like, centre backs don't even bother marking him, man. They don't need to go tight on him because he just offers no threat in front of goal. It's awful. It's like he's as bad as Origi when it comes to being a threat in front of goal at this stage.
Yeah, Andy,
are we letting you away with calling him Jota?
Andy, the front three, it's almost as bad a problem, if not a worse problem, than the fact that we don't have centre backs, or we don't have faith in the centre backs that are still available and fit, in the squad. The front three now, I think Phil's touched on something there. Jota did provide the X factor earlier in the season. It gave teams a different thing to have to work out. It also did, I think, give Bobby a bit of a kick up the arse, but now that Jota's not available, he does seem to have fallen back into a bit of a malaise. I mean, do you think, I know this is all theoretical, but if we have Jota available over those last 3 games, do you see a different outcome?
Yeah, absolutely. We're absolutely crying out for Jota at the moment. He came in and gave the front three the kick up the arse it needed. We've seen Mane and Salah in particular dovetail so well for a few seasons now, where one of them always crops up with a couple of goals every game. It's just not happening now. So Jota came in and he plastered over that problem. And if he was still fit now, he'd be scoring a lot of goals, no doubt about it. Well, it gives the other boys a chance to get back into form. He gets injured and the front three continue on the way they've been. They just haven't been at it all season. I don't know whether it's a motivation thing, as we were alluded to earlier, or whether it's just, I don't know. Is it just that other teams have sussed them out a little bit? They just know they're just a bit more familiar with how to play against them. But that spark seems to be missing from both of them. The little bit of magic that puts the doubt in defenders' mind early on. They just seem to have the two boys in their pocket all game. Apart from a few glimpses from Mane tonight, the front three were horrific, and particularly Salah, probably Salah's worst game in about a year or two.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the comments here. There seems to be a split of opinion. If you've got the likes of Kev O'Sullivan saying that the centre back problem is more serious than the attack and front three, and then you've got other people in here saying that the front three is the bigger issue. I guess they're both issues, so it's it's not great having issues at both ends of the scale sort of thing.
Well, there's Gavin Walsh, Ray. Trent is stinking the park out of the last few games. I mean, don't forget, last year Trent and Robertson were our biggest creators. They haven't created all this season.
No.
Trent's those deep crosses in, they're just not coming off. He's not finding Robertson in space. Robertson's not finding him in space.
No.
It's just, it could be a tactical thing where teams are able to just,
and it's the Atletico Madrid tactics. It's two banks of four with no space to play in between, and the fullbacks tuck in narrow, and the two wingers sit back almost as an ancillary fullback. So there's just no space for the two lads to get either behind them.
Yeah, but
get
even Trent's delivery when he does get that bit of space, he's hitting the force man, and a lot of times is the balls he expect him. That he's been producing for a couple of seasons now. So look, there's an awful lot going wrong in the team, apart from our injuries, apart from the front three, the front three not clicking. With two of our creative players, Robertson's been probably our best player this season, but defensively he's been good and getting forward. But it's just that extra thing, the assists and the creativity that they were producing in the last couple of seasons, it's just not there. There's an awful lot going on. The team need a freshening up. Maybe it was the season to bring in a couple of different players. And I know we brought in Thiago and Jota, and we've seen how that's worked out. So Klopp identified that there was a freshen up required, and they fucking both got injured.
Yeah.
But do you not think though, Ray, that you can give it your take? Like, I think Kev is right. If we have a centre back, if we sign one senior centre back on Sunday, right? And he won't play tonight. But like, if we sign the senior centre back this week and he's ready to play in the next league game, which is United, suddenly you free up to play either Henderson or Fabinho back in your midfield. And I genuinely think if you've Henderson and Fabinho there, and you've got a choice then of Henderson, Fabinho, Wijnaldum and Thiago now in the centre mid, your creativity and your ability to go compact again with the team to create more space for Salah and Mane to operate in. Like so much of our goals is their ability to suck teams onto us, even when they're trying to play deep against us, and then play quick passes around the edge of our own box that frees up the two boys to run like hares and get in behind defenses. At the moment, they're facing a bank of 10 players. Like this is not like
consistently. The last three games, it's been so obvious. Every time we're coming forward, Robbo or Trent, as you're saying, there's pretty much 10 men behind the ball all the time. There's so little space in there. It feels like we're not getting any ricochets, but then, the odds are when there's 10 red shirts or 10 black and white shirts back there, that it is going to fall to one of their men rather than one of ours. It's just the law of averages, and it's been happening consistently the last three games. And Free Worlds, I suppose, is asking a valid question as to whether the tactics have been sussed out, and you've got
There's a lot. Sorry, Ray.
No, you've got sometimes it's the same in any sport, isn't it? If you have a competitive advantage, eventually there's enough evidence of it and enough time for other managers and coaches to come up with a way of counteracting it. And you have to say that we are, and I think this is where the Jota thing comes in. And I think, going back to your question, Phil, about another centre-back, I think another centre-back's a must in this window, because what he's done tonight really has basically said to both Nat Phillips and Reece Williams that you're not good enough for us against a team that is a kind of a 6th to 10th place team in the league. You're only good enough to maybe play against the bottom 6 because we're going to be exposed maybe once or twice in a game, and we'll trust you to deal with that once or twice in a game. So I think we have to get a centre-back. I'm happy to keep Fabinho as centre-back. I think we've said it on this podcast many times. He's almost VVD levels at this stage in terms of his ability at the back. So
I'm starting to believe it. I'm starting to believe it. He's not. I don't want him there. I want him in midfield.
You think he's wasted almost?
He's just. I said it at the start. Look, he's been brilliant. But it just has to be a stopgap. It just has to be while we sort our shit out back there. We can't have Fabinho, who's one of the best players in his position in the world, playing in midfield. Last season, we said it over and over and over and over again that midfield Wijnaldum, Fabinho and Henderson was by far the best three we could pick. By far, leagues ahead of any midfield we could pick. Even now with Thiago in the squad, it's been an unbelievably functioning midfield that's enabled the fullbacks to get forward. We haven't had that this season at all. Like the team have been torn to shreds with Van Dijk out, with the midfield not being able to play together. The way it really should have happened this season is we played them three and then just allowed Thiago just to come into it. You know, whether he started some games, came on in other games, just to mix things up when things got a bit stale. But Liverpool being ravaged, and I think people forget that, especially when they start criticising individuals and slaughtering and maybe putting the blame on Klopp. His hands are kind of tied to an extent, and with a fit team, I've absolutely no doubt we'd be miles and miles ahead in this league. I mean, we've absolutely been ravaged in all the poor areas, and we just can't get the supply to the front three.
Yeah. Sorry, Neilo.
I think as well, they were a man was saying, have we been sussed out? Was it?
Yeah.
I think, well, Jota and Thiago were the how should I put it? Were the new additions to the squad that were going to make a difference, that were going to change how we approach games, so we wouldn't be predictable all the time. I mean, they were taken away, and to think Van Dijk was taken away, he was literally the best defender ever in all sports. Ever, and he's gone, and then you're decimated. So to start criticizing Klopp and all, people are fucking dickheads. Like, everything is going to be cool. Just relax. You know what I mean? We're good. We're doing all right. Maybe we win the FA Cup.
I think it is going to be. I think things are going to be cool, but it might take a new season for things to be cool, because at this rate, we're going to start to. I think the reality is probably
people are shitting our bags because United are up our hole. That's why.
Oh, I don't think so. I think City sent out a message yesterday that they're ready. They're ready to put a run of games together, and I think because we didn't kick on and build up a gap like we did, they don't feel out of it. They don't feel dispirited, even though they got off to a sluggish start, just as sluggish really, if not worse than they've had in recent seasons. We didn't pull enough distance away. They're now in a situation where if they win their games in hand, they actually go above us. So, I mean, what more motivation do they want over the next few weeks to keep knocking over what is a fairly easy set of fixtures? I mean, Phil, where do you see this playing out over the next sort of 6 to 8 games? Do you see us now being in a position where we're going to have to try and hunt City down in the last 10 games and maybe get some of these players back?
I don't think we can. I think signing that Nike deal was the death knell of us ever winning a trophy again. Like, I looked at that. Honestly, right, and I don't think enough is. Everyone's talking about the refs, the penos, the bad players, and all that. But lads, you can. Ever since we announced the Nike deal and we took the court and won it, right? Like, we've been shit. New Balance was the only thing that made us good, right? Like, New Balance gear made us great football because they make great gear, right? And we can say what we want. This Nike abortion that they were wearing today. Look, did you see what they were wearing tonight? Blue.
Wearing blue. Starters, I mean,
a Liverpool team wearing a blue kit, no, they deserve to lose, right? I never want to see that kit again. That should be burnt. They should have done what United did a few years back and take the grey off us, take the grey jerseys off, blue jerseys, blue.
Actually,
hold on. There's a 40-year-old man commented on colours of football jerseys. You are not the target audience, Phil.
Jono, we aren't blaming Nike deals. Phil is blaming Nike deals. All right. Yeah. I'm blaming. I think it's a course. I think Naby Keita did want to piss on one of the posts. We just need him to piss on the other post.
Naby Keita didn't do a piss on anything. Naby Keita was abducted a few weeks ago, right? Seriously, he's going to end up in one of those podcasts. I said it before the game. He's going to be on Up and Vanished. There's an investigation going into the location of Naby Keita. He hasn't been seen.
There's a couple of things you need to clear up here. Naby Keita is shit, and he always will be shit. So just forget about him. And then secondly, when did teams just always start getting 95 and 100 points? This only start happening like the last couple of years. That's not usually the way shit goes down, is it?
No, it's not. No, but I think I've been banging this drum for a few weeks now. I think this unless someone goes,
you'll end up getting wells. Be careful.
It's low eight. It's going to be low 80s. It's going to be.
I think anyone that gets over 85 points wins the league. That's where I think it's going to be. Right? I don't think it's going to be an absolute fall off a cliff under 80 points that wins the league here. I think it'll be 86 or 87 that wins the league this year. I think the Leicester won it. They won it with 82 points. I still think teams will. I think by the time we get out of January, whoever it goes on a run from, which always happens, whoever goes on a run from February right the way through to the end of the season wins the league, and they win it with about 87 points. But yeah, like I have to say,
if anyone gets 4 points in Liverpool, they win the league.
We're not getting that because we're wearing blue kits and we're wearing black chessboards. And then they brought out. Did you see the Nike Air kit they're bringing out now? Wait till you see the Nike Air kit they're bringing out. Somebody took a Nike Air runner from 1994 and decided that might look great as a jersey.
I'm wearing Air Max 90s at the minute.
Do you know what? Did you see?
Absolute shocking.
Did you see
shocking kit?
The worst abomination of everything is Klopp's jacket. Have you seen that thing? It's like a big duvet wrapped around him, and then the Liverpool badge is just like sewn into the middle, randomly, like in a pillow. It's bad all right now. You should mention this shit. Maybe you're onto something.
I'm telling you, Andy, it's like, remember when they said we won't use templates to make the gear for Liverpool, it's all going to be original, and then they turn up with the exact same jersey that Spurs are wearing, that Barcelona's wearing. Yeah, but it's different, man, because it's red. Well, there's blue and red, and that's fuck off.
Then I go out and buy a goalie jersey, which turns out to be the Zenit St. Petersburg jersey. Which to my disgust.
Blue fucking jerseys.
Interesting. Obviously, we've come straight on after without watching any of the interviews. Razor, who made his comeback last night on the pod, is saying that Klopp made reference in his post-match interview to United getting loads of penalties, which isn't a great sign. I'm sure there'll be a lot made of that on social media over the next little while. What do you think of the site?
Well, I tell you right, if you're coming here for analysis after the match and Phil going on about jerseys,
it's standard though. I mean, Ferguson behaved like that in post-match interviews for years. When you're at the top, you have to use every little tactic in the book, and putting ideas in referees' minds that there's an imbalance. I mean, Liverpool should have had 2 penalties tonight. How did they just get one of them? Let's say there were even 50-50 decisions. You should get one. One arm is dangling. I thought we had a rule about handballs now. I mean, he's blocked the ball like a goalkeeper, and then there's a clear shove on Mane. That's not a shoulder. That's arms. That's a clear shove. There's a distance between the two players, and he reaches out and pushes him over. They're penalties. One of them is a fucking least a penalty, and it's pretty grim. Like when you see people that want to do away with VAR, when you're just giving those absolute dickheads the license to referee games how they want it and just make decisions like that. Both of them were easy from where the ref was standing. Both of them were easy. It was so unnatural the way Mane was pushed off the ball. Give a penalty, fucking ridiculous. And I mean the referees are just, it's like they're in bed with Sky as well. Like this Sky narrative now is an incredible Premier League season. In my bollocks is an incredible league season. It's the worst Liverpool season. Absolute shite, so lacking in quality. Teams dropping points isn't fun. It's just stupid. They're just like a team goes out and wins 7-0. Yeah, a team that got beaten earlier in the season 7-2 or whatever, and then could beat someone 7-0. It's ridiculous. It's not a great season. It's not enjoyable. Nobody's enjoying it. Who are they fooling to think that people are sitting down and enjoying this crap every week, like game after game after game, and you're sitting there and watching Brighton and fuck off who else? Shit. It's absolutely shit, and there's a stupid narrative from Sky and the referees all together now to make this great. If there was ever a reason to try and win this league now, it's to stick fucking 2 fingers up the Sky and the referees and everyone else. That's your fucking speech, Klopp. Fucking turn it and stop the Manx. Get them the fuck out of here. It's ridiculous. I'm sick of it.
Well, Andy's got on one there, and I think that's an absolute classic, to be honest with you, because let's face it. I mean, what you're saying there around the quality, like it has significantly dipped, hasn't it? Since the
it's shite. It's like the Scottish League, right?
It's like league.
Andy, I couldn't agree with you more. You know what, I've been saying it weeks. It's absolute football at the minute is a shambles. I don't know why anyone would watch it. I'm going to come clean, lads. I'm going to come perfectly clean. I didn't watch the match tonight. I didn't see a fucking minute of it.
Did you look at
I just WhatsApp Brenzy there, and he gave me the rundown. He said, "Say Ox was like a competition winner, and say Trent was Melojan, and then just mention Malay as Neilo, and you should be all right."
Oh dear! So we got a 50% watch rate on this podcast because Phil was busy.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you because you know what? I'll be honest. I didn't watch it because there's nothing to watch. It's boring. It's shit. The spectacle is there. It's not exciting. I'm not invested in it at all. And after what we did 18 months ago, I'm happy. I'm happy now. I'm a happy little camper. And if Liverpool are within 5 or 6 points now by February, March time, they'll win the league because they're the best team, by far the better team. And everybody else is just fall by the wayside. But if they're without fans, I won't be watching because it's just shit.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Sky have got to build it up because at the end of the day, they're showing more games than ever. And, you know, they've got a product to sell.
It's very expensive as well.
Yeah. I honestly hope the league gets shut down again. I genuinely do, right? With England going into super duper lockdown today, right? Like, I hope they shut sport down and just completely lock it down because it'd be hilarious. Because Sky are just going to end up having to, like, they won't know what to rerun. Like, they literally have no sport left on it. It'd be just like, and here's frog jumping from a pond in Cheshire. And it'll be just like, what are you going to do? Like,
you know
great.
what? Like, I mean, if there was anything that a pandemic could produce that's good, it could be the end of Sky Sports. Wouldn't that be great? Like,
yeah,
brilliant.
You know, something good to come of it.
Yeah, I mean, they took great pleasure tonight. It was the usual shite served up by Martin Tyler and Alan Smith, but you know, Tyler took real pleasure in describing Southampton as being another team that's in the mix. I mean, that just says it all, doesn't it? You know, the league table is just a bit of a joke right now, isn't it? I mean, we're coming up halfway point. Could you imagine the outrage if United go top and the league gets cancelled?
Are we not even halfway through yet?
No, we're not even halfway through yet, Neilo.
There will be no winner. Neilo, there'll be no winner. They just decided the top four based on last season's top four because they set out what the conditions were. I'm saying scrap the league for an absolute piss take. No football. Scrap the Euros. Scrap everything. Right? It just comes back in September and we start again. We call it. We just pretend it happened last year and just rock on.
We'll have a buzz in September.
Yeah.
Are the Euros happening here in the summer even?
Who knows? Who cares? International football is irrelevant. They should be burnt at the stake. They need to bring the Spanish Inquisition back for international football and burn a lot of it. If you turn up for
international football is irrelevant, club football is irrelevant, the FA Cup is irrelevant. There's no point in any of this. So we're all wasting our fucking breath.
Yeah.
So look, I tell you what, right? And I mean, this was supposed to be a review of the match, but the reality is it was a shit show of a match, and it's that, you know, we'd normally take this through bit by bit, you know, portion by portion, but the reality is we never really looked like threatening. We got the first shot on goal is after 70 minutes. It was never going to happen.
That's what I did instead of watching the match. I filled the hole in the wall where I put the handle of the door through. That's what I did instead of watching it.
I think a few people need some polyfiller tonight after those 90 minutes. But the thing is, right, I'm gonna completely ignore and skip past the FA Cup because I think at this point we need to.
I'll just leave. If you start talking about the FA Cup, honestly, I that should be burnt out international football, burnt out with fire. Right, I was watching the documentary on the planet of Venus, right, and on Venus the temperature is so hot that metal becomes gas, travels up into the atmosphere, cools down, and falls as melting snow. That's what they need to do with the FA Cup. Send it to Venus and let it just become melted snow. Absolute scumbucket of a competition. I don't even want to see it on the television. Get rid of it.
Well, let's give the opportunity now.
Phil, what about the first round proper? The first round proper on BBC just be great.
Yeah, it's
given
the opportunity for reruns of the 7-2 debacle against Aston Villa, and the rematch that they'll build up to something that it's never going to be, because it's going to be full of, you know, second team players and whatnot. But we got the reality is the next league game is Man United. Yeah, obviously Sky will, you know, back onto Sky, and I'm assuming it's on Sky because it always is. we will see we will see a build up like no other, I suspect, to this one. And it's what, are we talking just under 2 weeks away? Because do we actually get a bit of a break or something? But anyway, what's your initial, I know we're still a bit far out from it. We might have Jota back at that point. Who knows? We might even have a new signing at centre back making the debut. Who knows? Andy, what's your kind of early take on that game? Do you think? I mean, in some ways, it's the perfect game because I think United will come there brimming with confidence, and I think we could potentially use this as a catalyst to just sort of turn back the clock and get back to the way we've played in the past couple of seasons. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a perfect opportunity to show response.
David Lennon. He's only saying that because he was begging Neilo to do another guitar session for us. Neilo could be in a world of his own.
Sorry.
Go on, Andy.
Look, it's a game of football. Anyone could win, but I mean, anytime I've watched United, they get a spawny goal. The other night against Wolves, they never deserved to win that game. Absolutely ridiculous. They're whatever joint top, if they want to call it, in the league now. They beat us. They go top. They'd have to be one of the worst teams to be top of the league since, I suppose, Leicester. Probably be it before that. Horrific. Like I don't know what's happening, but they've managed to creep up. But other teams like Spurs, us, City should be miles ahead, and they should be battling out for. Look at the points accumulated to be top of the league at this stage. It hasn't been seen in such a long time. They're being seen as a fake title challengers. They shouldn't be top of the league with their form this season, but they are. Look, I'm going to be absolutely sick to death. I'll be sick. I'll be sick if they beat us. I think I'll give up. I think I'll give up football for the rest of the season. But no, it's a perfect opportunity to show a response. As you say, Ray, it's a couple of weeks now. Get the players tuned in on what we need to do to beat them, and look, we won't look back on the result tonight. Then,
yeah, I mean, United. Someone made a comment there. John O saying that United played Burnley before us, so they could already be top of the league even without having to beat up sort of thing. So they could come to Anfield top of the league. They've also obviously got to play their FA Cup game, and they've got a League Cup semi-final against Man City as well. So they've actually got a couple of extra games before they even play us. What I'd say in response to that is they don't seem to be picking up many injuries. They seem to be able to do. I think one of the reasons why they are where they are and they have bridged the gap is whilst we've got an absolute horror list of injuries, they just still seem to have a fairly decent squad where they can rotate both in game and between games in terms of keeping that squad relatively fresh. So I don't think it's necessarily a disadvantage for United to have any extra games in between, and we're actually generally quite bad off the back of longer breaks. So Phil, well, for starters, I take it you will be watching that game. It will at least pique your interest, assuming it doesn't coincide with a Chicago Bears playoff game. You will be watching it, yeah?
I don't know, Ray. Honest to God, I don't know, right? Like, they could be 6 clear of us by the time we got to play them.
Well, 3. I don't think.
Whatever. I feel like, imagine losing our unbeaten home record to United and going 6 points behind.
Yeah, that really is kind of doomsday scenario.
It would be terrible.
It'd be, yeah. I think we can pack in then.
What's annoyed me about Christmas is we had the longest gap between matches. We had on average 4.5 days between each match, and we've had a horrific run. And it's the worst run I can remember since Klopp has come in. Normally we do really well over the Christmas period, right?
Even years we've been shite, we usually have a decent Christmas.
Yeah, and we didn't. And you're coming out of this, and like, You've got this poxy FA Cup match. I know what Klopp is like. He'll end up playing Salah, Mane, and Firmino and hope that they score goals and that, right? He'll play Fabinho and Henderson. Both of them will end up with legs around their heads or something like that. And all you do is, like, honest to God, I'd put them away. I'd just say, lads, you've been shit. Take a week off. Go to Dubai. Do something, because that's where all the Instagrammers are going these days. Dubai. There seems to be, you can just go there if you want. Yeah. Catch up with VVD. He seems to be out there doing his rehab. We're going to burn all this blue gear. Ignore the FA Cup. We'll send out the under-23s.
It's mentioned BVD thing there, right? Do you know the way there's loads of footage of him like just doing his rehab, and people are saying he's like Superman? What the fuck is all that about? Like, look at him, he's amazing. What a man! All I want to do is lick the seat after he gets off it. He's just going through his rehab with the normal process that anybody else would. He's cycling a bike, like.
The only thing is we're broadcasting. You know what I mean? Like we could have done this
from a man who came back from a cruciate ligament injury.
I honestly, I hope. I don't know. Right? I have to see how I feel before the game. Like I have this was the first time I watched the game live in ages. Right? Normally I'd have the result and go and watch it back to see what type of trends are coming out. And the last few weeks, it's the same trend over and over again. I would be stunned if Gollum doesn't come to Anfield, right, and try to play tight with two banks forward at the back and look to play the ball over the top and use the pace of Martial or Rashford to try get in behind us. Honestly, that's what he's going to look at. Well, that's how you beat them, and that's what it is. The thing is, can we play compact enough to utilize that as best as possible? Because the United teams tend to want to come, no matter how deep they want to play, they tend to get carried away by the occasion and do come at us at certain parts of the game. And that's when we can pick them off. And that's where we have picked them off in the past. And that's what I'd be looking at. But nah, man, like I wouldn't even put it. I'd just say, I'm not turning out for the FA Cup. Like honestly, I wouldn't even put a team out. I'd just say, no, we're not doing it this year.
But the last time we were saying this was against Midfield, and that's the game that Jota goes out and gets injured in, isn't it? You know what I mean? This is the fear that we will play, obviously, a certain number of first teamers. And if we picked up an injury to, say, a Henderson, or, you know, he decides to play Fabinho in centre mid just to give him a run out there for a bit of a change, and he picks up an injury or a red card or whatever it is, like, these are the things that you desperately need to avoid going into the United match, isn't it?
Yeah, play Skertland, play Clavin at the weekend. And then hopefully, where's Matip? What's wrong with him?
Well, yeah, that's another 3 or 4 weeks, I would say, by the looks of things.
It says all about this season, actually, Andy. You know, the way Andy was saying the shit that United are kind of going to be top of the league shortly, when that absolute charlatan is a manager of them. It's mental.
It is mental.
Like, United are shit. He's a charlatan, and they're nearly top of the league. It's nuts.
It just sums
and
up
all of a sudden, Jack Grealish is the best footballer in the world. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, when you see Ole, you know, lapping it up in front of empty stadiums, it just makes you think he thinks he's just still managing FC Molde, and because that's the sort of level, you know, no one at the match, blah blah blah. Like he's I don't know. I mean, Antoinette's saying there, if they beat us, she won't be seen for a while. So I think a lot of us will be going to ground, because I think plenty of us are in WhatsApp groups which involve United fans, and they're getting a little bit vocal again after being completely anonymous for a few years.
It's the first time I've seen them on this podcast.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
You know, there's whatever 3 or 4 of them, like, they've obviously really wet their pants tonight and said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on the internet to some Liverpool content and say shit. Oh, look, it's...
Listen to 4 fucking ages analysing a football match. Mental.
I can relate to that so much. I know what it's like to be them. We all know what it's like to be them, all through the late 90s and early 2000s. It killed the hope. Absolutely destroyed you. And if I could offer you any advice, just give it up now. Just wait. Just be patient. Your time will come again. But don't get these ideas into your head that you're going to start winning leagues, or that your time's come around, that Ollie has a clicked now, or that these players are finally going to turn around. It's an absolutely deplorable bunch of shitheads that you have playing for them, and nothing's going to change. Your club is rotten to the core, and anyone from the outside could see it. You could see it with Liverpool back in the day. Come in here and all you want. Watch our podcast. We'll educate you. We've been there. You should know what it's like for us to be here right now.
Yeah, I mean, Mad Japple makes a really good
I'm
point.
not here to educate fucking anyone, to be honest with you.
Ole would have been turfed out, you know.
Okay, Neilo, you didn't even watch the game tonight. We got to educate you.
Yeah, come here, listen, let me tell you, if you're switching on here to listen to me analysing a match with professional footballers playing it when there's lads on BT and Sky, you want to start your beef out.
No.
I'm
not talking about professional. There's no one here looking for professional analysis. There's just some friendly advice here. So from experience and knowing it's like with all that.
Let me give you some friendly advice. I zoned out for the late 90s, early 2000s. The best thing you can do.
You're still zoned out even when we're winning trophies.
Generally so.
I told you, anyway, we won all them trophies. That's it, me done, happy. Football is shit.
Yeah. Top class of that. I mean, we got Phil. Phil's, you know, Neilo's joined the dark side clearly at this point with Phil. Phil
is just there, just like a shasha cat.
3 years been waiting for tonight.
No, but to be fair,
it's like all times, Phil.
Andy, I love it. I just keep thinking of Skerritt and Johnson. It's great.
Sitting around the table in a bunker with Aspas doing what he did, and
that's what everyone asking. But like Andy, everyone asking why I'm wearing the hat. I was just out of invoking the spirit of Trev, because he used to sit around in the bunker with the hat on all the time, being all Trev like. And the stick on pony at the back, so it's like, and I also like the fact that Ray turned up with a goatee beard as well, because Trevor used to always have a goatee beard when he do the podcast as well. So it's definitely got an old school vibe to it. It's great, isn't it?
And Neilo has his baldy head.
Neilo has his baldy head. And next week he'll have long hair because Neilo has some strange.
Like if you joined up you, Ray, and Neilo, you'd have Trev.
Hold on, we need a bit of Ulysses now and blow your mind.
Yeah, I wish I had his words to make up the I can't even think of the word, the quartet.
We've even got Matt Hayes in from the Tottenham blog saying to smash that like button. He's a friend of the show. He's not in here to cause any trouble. I'm sure Tottenham would take a bit of pleasure out of that result tonight, as well as United and City. Look, it is making up. All joking aside, it is making up to something that's going to go all the way down to the wire. And I can only, to be honest, I think I've reached the sort of point now where I can't. Liverpool aren't going to go streaking away with this league. If there's going to be one team that streaks away with this league and gets the shit together, it's going to be City, and they're the only ones who are really going to be able to put any distance between themselves and the rest of the pack.
Can City go above us now?
Yeah, they can with
two games in hand.
Yeah.
Only 5 points behind or something like that. So United and City could be above us. By
rights, I know we're still sitting top, but by all things equal, we're kind of technically third now. That's what those that's what those three results have meant. Ultimately, 2 draws and a defeat over Christmas has put us in that. And off the back of a 7-0, this is what I can't get my head around. Off the back of a 7-0 thumping of Crystal Palace, you throw in 3 kind of shit shows like that, really. Neilo, you left us there.
Yes.
You left us there briefly. Will you be watching the Manchester United match?
Well, sorry, what was that? Was I watching the Manchester United match?
Will you be watching the Manchester United match?
Yeah, I probably will. Yeah, probably. Then again, I might. You know what I mean? I could kind of take it or leave it at the minute. It's boring, man. I'm not can't lie. Can't come and lie and say I watch it, or I will definitely watch Manchester. I may watch it and I may not watch it. I really don't know. Like, why would United are shit? That Ollie is a fucking charlatan. Liverpool aren't really into this season. So why the fuck should I be? I don't know. It's
Andy. Beyond the United game, obviously we need to start getting some players back. Yeah. I threw a comment into the WhatsApp group tonight just to stir the pot a little bit. I mean, do we need to be worrying about top 4?
I hope not, Ray. I honestly hope not. Look, this is our worst stretch of form since Klopp was building this. I don't see what.
Still first or second anyway. I mean, like
2 points from an available 9. 3 games we should have won.
Yeah.
It's just, it is a rut. It was mentioned earlier on in the WhatsApp group. It does feel like a rut. It feels like those points being dropped have been coming for a while, with the exception of the Palace performance. It is a rut, and it's up to Klopp to find the answers. I think he will find the answers, but dead right. We need players back. We need Jota back. There was a spark there when he came in that was turning things around for us. That was we are less reliant on the front three, let's say. So I think we need Jota back. We need him back soon. We just need players available. We need to be able to, for Klopp to have to make less forced changes. I mean, I just don't want to see Henderson playing centre back again. I don't want to be missing 2 of our best midfielders out of that midfield. And I mean, I think that's key. Once we can get players back, we'll be on our way.
I think, I mean, you know, Jono has said, you know, top 4. Are you joking me, Ray? But all I'm saying here is could this be a season where all of these injuries ultimately mean that, you know, Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham and Leicester finish above us? And, you know, unless we see a change in the way things are going at the moment, we're going to get sucked into a scenario that we would never have dreamed of at the start of the season.
Right. We had Man City and Man United in the bottom half of the league not so long ago.
Yeah,
I mean that's how easy it is to climb back up. Just put a stretch of 4 wins together, makes all the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, but the reality is that the table doesn't lie, and it's taken shape now. We're nearly halfway. We say about, you know, teams being lower down the table. That was after 8 or 9 games. We're nearly at the halfway. We're nearly at the halfway point now. I don't know. It does seem a little bit like this could be the lowest point in the season, and you have to hope that from you know, again, let's take the FA Cup to one side. I mean, if we do go out to the FA Cup on Friday, do you think it makes any impact on the team's mentality at all, Phil?
What's on Friday?
No, but just for the...
I'll be watching the late Phil.
Ourselves out of this kind of malaise, yeah. Just back to Neilo's very valid point that he brought up there earlier on, just to get us out of this malaise. Do you think, just for the sake of getting, you know, a positive result, we could do Steve Ovac saying a need intervention? I'm trying to bring us back in the opposite direction, Stephen. Do you think it is important? For a bit of feel good, just to fucking beat Aston Villa on Friday night?
Couldn't care less, mate. Couldn't care less. I swear to God, I'm not going to watch it. Not going to look at the results. Means fucking nothing. Fire into the sun. Fire the FA Cup into the sun. I never ever want to see an FA Cup match again. I'm never going to watch an FA Cup match again. And if anybody thinks the FA Cup's important, they should just go back to playing Tiddlywinks or FIFA. It makes no difference. It makes no difference. You don't win. You win nothing for the FA Cup. You get to go into Europa. Wow. What does Europa get you? Get you into the Champions League. The only thing that matters is Champions League and winning the Champions League and win the league titles. Every other cup is just for loser teams. I didn't want to win it when I didn't want to win.
Anfield South.
That was demolished at the end of the 80s, 90s, whenever it was. They don't have. There's nothing there now.
Down the Twin Towers.
They have a toilet now instead with a big arch over the top of it. Because the arch closes and opens up like a giant toilet. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You won't even be able to get down there because they'll they'll close the borders. The north of England people won't be allowed down the south of England people because they've got control of their borders now, so they're all happy.
Tommy C's making the point there. How do some of these boys not watch games? Watch games. I mean, to be fair, other podcasts do something similar. So we thought, we may as well just join them and make it up as we go along. Isn't that right, Neilo?
Done it for fucking years, mate. Done it for years. I'm still here. I mean, do you know what I gotta say, right? All joking aside and all messing aside, like, I'm so disinterested and so detached from football at the minute. It's weird. I have no tangible attachment to it. When I look at it, I don't feel attached. I don't feel engrossed. I don't feel part of it. It's just something that's on in the background. It's like having like when you're doing something like that, if you just stick Spotify on and some other geezer's playlist comes on, you just go, yeah, just leave it. I couldn't even bother changing it.
Is that because
I just can't feel involved?
It's weird. It's weird times for everyone. What are you attached to these days? What is anyone attached to these days?
I mean, I get
6,000 cases today. Is that?
I mean, that's a bit deep.
Is that a buzz now? Like, football is the escape.
I'm not trying to escape from anything.
It's not my escape.
Wait, if you're trying to escape from your life, you need to sit down and have a look. I'm not to escape from anything. I'm very comfortable where I am at the minute.
Honestly, I don't find this football an escape. I find it just lethargic and boring to watch. There's just it isn't the same. It's just a pointless exercise in generating revenue for football clubs.
It's become that way, isn't it? The problem is there's too much football.
Football has been exposed for what it is. In fact, for me,
it's oversaturated because of the way that they're obviously spacing out all the games so that fans can watch their team and in fact effectively just watch game after game after game after game. If you just giving people a constant stream of football and saturation as well is that look, this is a Daytrippers podcast, and it's about people who don't live in Liverpool, although I am a Scouser, just to clarify that point. But the reality is we get to Liverpool maybe once, twice, a season. For others of us, it's a little bit more, and you get that connection with the players and with the club by going over and watching a game and all that goes with it. And I can see why, Neilo, for yourself and for plenty of other people, you would start to lose that connection because you've got when's the next time you're going to get over there? That's the question. Do you know what I mean?
Come here, it's a social thing, right? Liverpool, supporting Liverpool, it's a social thing. Even doing the podcast with the lads, it was a social thing, and it kept you interested in Liverpool. Now we can't even do this, man. Like, I'm sitting in my kitchen here looking at the thing, and I have to wash the dishes over there. I'm wondering why Phil has a lot of bananas in the background there.
It's because it's on my special. It's a vegetable thing, so it keeps the bananas away from the other fruit. Are they plantains? Are they like because if you put bananas in with other fruit, it ripens the other fruit quicker than it ripens the bananas, and it ruins all your fruit. So that's a lesson for you.
No, you're getting confused there. That's girls in an office. They all have their thing at the same time of the month. That's a different thing. It's not bananas at all.
Anyway, but honestly, I'm sort of Neil does touch on something. The reason why I enjoy football is not so much about just watching the games and stuff. It's having the chats and having the crack with the lads after the game, before the matches and stuff like that. And we can't do it in person anymore. So much of the stuff that's enjoyable and the whole lot, it's gone. And that's why that's where I'm really struggling with enjoying this season, because I'm not having the same crack. I'm not having the stuff that we've done last year when we were still able to get into the studio up to the point that the lockdown happens, right? Being able to really enjoy the Champions League final, being able to really enjoy the build up to what happened through the start of that season and the run that we had up until February last year. I'm just like, it just isn't the same for me, right? And that's where I'm really struggling with, like, to even care about this season. Like, my feelings about the FA Cup are not just new. That's the way I've always felt about it for, like, ever since we've done this podcast. I've been on air to say, bin it all off. But I just, and in reality, for me, it's really just about the enjoyment factor. And when that enjoyment factor isn't there because you can't do all the things that it is, it really is. it's a sad indictment. You say, what am I doing for enjoyment? I'm looking at endurance races, adventure racing, getting out running, doing all these mad things that just isn't to do with sitting down and watching the television, because we're trapped in houses, we're trapped in apartments, we're trapped inside all the time. I want to be outside. I don't want to be trapped here watching the television when I have an opportunity to get outside and do something. And that's just the reality of it for me.
Trapped in this apartment.
You raise an excellent point, Phil. When you think about it, under normal circumstances where we might be in the pub meeting up, watching games, having the chats before the match, you can't hear the commentary while you're watching the game. You can't hear the bullshit talk afterwards. When you go to the game, it's a full day out for us Daytrippers anyway. It starts early in the morning and it ends late that night or the next day. You don't get to have to listen to all the shit on Sky and the build-up. Now we're just absolutely, as Ray says, it's just saturation of their bullshit, trying to make a big product out of it and trying to lie to us saying that it's a big, incredible league. It's absolute horseshit. Harry Gilliam, thanks for the super chat. Liverpool have allowed United into the title race. Yeah, they have. United aren't anything. We have allowed them, but it's not our fault. Shit's happened. We'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, United. It's not like United are projected to get like 90 points or 95 points. I mean, I think if they replicated the second half of the season that they've done in the first half of the season, they're gonna hit the magic 85 or whatever it's gonna take to win the league this season.
They winning that ball back at 85. Not a fucking hope for.
No, they're in a bit of a purple patch right now, and if you actually have watched a lot of United's recent games, they've had the bounce of the ball, they've had decisions go the way at certain moments in time. They've had the opposition who've probably outplayed them at certain stages in games, just not converting chances. The guy has actually been pulling off some saves, but look, there's plenty of things that have been going in their favour that will unravel. I think.
The United thing. Every time anyone talks about United, I just think they gave 85 million for Harry Maguire. It's the funniest thing that ever happened in the world ever. It's like the best thing ever, isn't it? Like no matter what Solskjaer ever says, he gave 85 million for that big fucking mallet head. It's mental.
He's still got that one or two mistake in him in every game, but he's getting away with it. The last few games he's been getting away with it, but there'll come a point where he'll get horribly exposed again. And
like he did in Greece that time. Do you know who I am?
Drop him. The one thing I did want to say in terms of Southampton tonight, I think we spoke about Firmino and his form or his lack of form, Phil. I think we've seen tonight, fair play to Danny Ings. Aside from the goal, I thought he was excellent as pressing Thiago, pressing our centre backs. He was he put in the type of shift that I would imagine if Klopp would have hung on to him. And he might be looking at him tonight thinking, God, if only we would have hung on to onto Danny Ings a bit longer. It's the type.
The thing is, right now, Ings is the number one man there at Southampton, and they build their game around Ings. They were never going to build a game around Ings at Liverpool, right? So, and he was never going to be the number one man, because when he left, that's when Firmino was in his peak form for Liverpool. He was scoring 18, 19, 20 goals for us in terms of what was there. That's not happening anymore. The guy has scored 2 goals or something like that in 400 league matches. So it's like it's just for me. I'm delighted for Ings and delighted he's managed to get his career back on track, and he's done well. He seems a really nice bloke. He seems well loved by Klopp as well. You could see with the hug at the end of it, even though he's just done it to beat him. But I'd take Joseph. I'd rather have a fit Joseph back. I'd like to see Minamino get more game time at this point, because it can't be any worse than what we have there. And I'd like to sort out the midfield. And I'd like this podcast to end because I'm really tired and want to go to bed. and I want to take this hat off as well because my head's sweating at this stage. So.
You're not going out for a jog straight after this still, no?
No, see, and they're even saying, am I wearing gloves? But if anyone is a long-time listener to the pod, they realise that we used to take the absolute hit and miss out of Trev for his finger sleeves. Do you remember, Andy? The first time we saw it was the finger sleeves. Yeah, there you go. So it was a proper piss take.
There's a bold prediction from
right, imagine how excited we're going to be when football does come back properly.
What's that, sorry?
Imagine how excited we will be when it does come back properly. It'll be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know what as well? Football has been exposed, and you see that pay-per-view matches and all, it's just really it made me feel sick, left a terrible bad taste in my mouth, so fuck them. Yeah. And come here, have I mentioned before that we won the Champions League, the league and everything else, the Worlds and everything a couple of 18 months ago, so fuck it.
I mean, this season will go down in history as just a major shit show, and normally that really, people kind of criticised or had poke fun at us for winning that league in the circumstances that we did, but the reality was the league was won and done and dusted when it was being run as a proper league. This season is just a complete one-off, and
they don't even know. They don't even know what they're doing from a week to week. They don't know where their games are going to be postponed. They don't know where the football is going to end. It's just going through the motions at this stage.
Yeah. And you know what? That's exactly what we've done for the last hour and 15 minutes, just to bring all those loyal a product tonight off the back of what's been a pretty low point in the season so far. So look, hopefully this time next week we'll be into the 4th round of the FA Cup. Phil, the magic of the
has
cup
to be pen
ET phone home.
You never know. It might be the last trophy that we're left to chase come March.
At fucking Venus.
But we'll be next week. We'll get back to the normal format. We'll be discussing 4 topics.
Thank fucking Jesus, right?
Yeah, I know. We won't be discussing matches anymore. We'll hopefully we won't have to discuss any more matches on this show at any time soon. Particularly not losses anyway. So thanks, Phil. Thanks, Andy. Great rant, by the way.
No, Dan, just a quick one, right? Dan J, I would not celebrate if we won the FA Cup. I didn't celebrate it the last time we won it. I will never celebrate an FA Cup one. I can't be arsed with it.
I will. I'll celebrate.
You are actually that much of a prick not to celebrate we won the cup. Yeah, I know you will.
I'll celebrate it. And Neilo, thanks again. ET, phone home.
I was trying to think of a positive actually before we go about the lockdown. I've discovered George Harrison's back catalogue.
Oh, very
there
good.
You go.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's been fucking shit.
Yeah. What a note to end on.
What a note to
All
end
right, sound.
Yeah. Well, we may as well end on the note